Give me just 14 minutes of your time, and I promise you'll have an edge over 97% of the people you know. Why? Because most people won't take 14 minutes to shift their mindset, to build discipline, or to invest in their future. They'll scroll, they'll waste, they'll complain, but not you. If you're watching this, you're already different. Let's go. Time is the most valuable resource every human being has. Yet most people spend their entire lives wasting it without realizing the opportunity that slips away every second. When you think about the fact that just 14 minutes of pure focus, of intentional effort, can completely shift your trajectory, you start to understand how powerful time really is. 14 minutes might sound small, almost insignificant, but it is enough to create a mental breakthrough that places you ahead of the majority of people around you. The truth is most individuals underestimate the compound effect of short, deliberate actions. They believe success is hidden in massive leaps, dramatic transformations, or once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, but it is not. Success is built in the moments that seem too small to matter. 14 minutes of learning, 14 minutes of discipline, 14 minutes of doing something most people ignore can eventually become the edge that makes all the difference. If you take those 14 minutes seriously, you will realize how few others are willing to. That's why the gap between the top 3% and the rest of the world is not measured in talent or luck. It's measured in how people use their time. While 97% are scrolling on their phones, distracted or indulging in comfort, the 3% are investing small blocks of time with purpose, stacking those moments into hours, days, and years of growth. Time has the ability to multiply effort if you respect it. Imagine setting aside 14 minutes every day to build discipline in one area of your life. 14 minutes to read a few pages that expand your mind. 14 minutes to exercise when others are sitting still. 14 minutes to write down goals when others are drifting without clarity. It might look small in the beginning, but the effect is enormous when repeated consistently. People often think they need hours of free time to make a difference, and because they don't have hours, they do nothing. That is the mistake 97% of people make. They wait for perfect conditions instead of maximizing what they already have. 14 minutes is always available if you want it badly enough. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, but not everyone chooses to carve out space for what matters. That is why most remain average and only a few rise above. The psychology of using a short period like 14 minutes is powerful because it eliminates excuses. Nobody can say they don't have 14 minutes. Everyone has wasted more time than that in a single day doing meaningless tasks. But when you decide that even 14 minutes can shift your life, you begin to respect time differently. It becomes a habit to value moments, to understand that every block of time, no matter how small, is an opportunity. That perspective separates you from the people who wait for someday. Someday is a trap. The ones who achieve more know that someday is today, and today starts with what you do in the next 14 minutes. By choosing growth over comfort, action over delay, and discipline over distraction in that short space of time, you put yourself in a category that only 3% of people belong to. It is not about how much time you have, but how you use the time you are given. 14 minutes of focused intention can create a ripple effect that transforms not just your day, but your entire life. The majority of people spend their lives caught in cycles of distraction, drifting from one thing to another without ever giving their energy and focus to what actually matters. They wake up and the first thing they do is check their phones, scroll through endless notifications, consume meaningless information, and fill their minds with noise that serves no purpose. This pattern repeats day after day until it becomes normal, and they don't even notice how much of their life is being stolen by distraction. The difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise to the top lies in how they choose to direct their attention. Focus is the currency of achievement, and those who learn how to guard it become unstoppable. If you look at the most successful people, you will notice one thing in common. They eliminate distractions ruthlessly. They don't waste time on every opportunity that comes their way. They don't allow every notification to dictate their actions, and they don't let gossip, opinions, or negativity pull them off course. Instead, they operate with clarity, and they decide where their energy goes. That single decision puts them ahead of 97% of the world because most people never learn how to control their focus. The average person believes multitasking is productive, yet science proves that every time you switch tasks, your brain loses momentum, your energy drains, and your efficiency drops. That is why so many people work hard but achieve so little, because their focus is scattered everywhere. They start one thing, get distracted, jump to another, and never finish what they began. The top performers, on the other hand, understand that focus means saying no more often than saying yes. They build boundaries around their time, they silence unnecessary noise, and they commit to seeing one task through to completion. That kind of focus is rare, and because it is rare, it is valuable. Imagine what would happen if you dedicated even a small, consistent portion of your day to uninterrupted, distraction-free work. Imagine 2 hours of pure focus every single day, invested into your goals without interference. At first, it might not feel extraordinary, but over the course of weeks and months, those hours accumulate into expertise, into progress, into results that seem impossible to others. What separates you from the 97% is not that you have more opportunities, more money, or more luck. It's that you train yourself to value focus. Focus is a form of discipline, and like a muscle, it grows stronger the more you practice it. The world around you is designed to steal your attention, to keep you entertained, to keep you comfortable. Every advertisement, every piece of content, every distraction is competing for your mind, and if you do not guard it, you will lose it. The people who beat the odds are not the ones who fall into every trap. They are the ones who resist. They choose to cut off what drains them and pour their attention only into what builds them. That choice, made over and over again, compounds into mastery. When you decide to focus, you gain clarity. You start to see where your time is wasted and where your energy is best spent. You stop scattering yourself in 1,000 directions and start moving forward in one. That is when momentum begins to work in your favor, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. Most people never experience it because they are constantly starting over, constantly distracted, constantly unfocused. But the moment you decide to eliminate distractions and protect your focus, you separate yourself from nearly everyone around you. The world becomes quieter, your path becomes clearer, and you begin to realize that focus is not just about productivity, it is about freedom. It is the freedom to control your mind, your actions, and ultimately your future. Most people go through life believing that challenges are setbacks, that obstacles are signs they should stop, and that failure is proof they are not good enough. This mindset is the reason so many remain in the same place year after year, never growing, never reaching their true potential. They look at difficulties as walls that cannot be moved. And so they retreat, they give up, or they settle for less than they are capable of. But the people who rise to the top, the ones who outperform 97% of the world, look at those same challenges differently. They don't see them as walls, they see them as doors. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to push harder, to learn, to grow stronger. Instead of saying, "Why me?" they ask, "What can I learn from this?" That simple shift in mindset changes everything, because life is not about avoiding challenges. It is about learning how to use them to your advantage. The truth is, growth never comes from comfort. The moments that shape you are the ones that test you, the ones that force you to dig deeper than you thought possible. When you adopt a growth mindset, you no longer fear those moments, you welcome them. Every mistake becomes feedback, every failure becomes data, and every setback becomes a setup for a stronger comeback. This mindset frees you from the fear of being wrong, because you understand that being wrong is simply part of the process of becoming right. People with a fixed mindset avoid risks, they avoid new experiences, they avoid failure because they see it as a reflection of their worth. People with a growth mindset embrace risks, they embrace discomfort, and they embrace failure because they see it as a path to progress. That difference is what separates those who stay stuck from those who excel. When you believe you can grow, you give yourself permission to try. You stop waiting until you feel ready, and you start moving forward knowing that readiness comes from action, not from waiting. This is how leaders, innovators, and high achievers operate. They don't sit back waiting for perfect conditions. They step into imperfect situations and figure it out along the way. With each step, they gain knowledge, confidence, and skill. The fixed mindset says, "I can't do this." The growth mindset says, "I can't do this yet, but I will learn." That single word, "yet," is the difference between mediocrity and mastery. Think about the people you admire, the ones who inspire you. None of them reached where they are without failures, setbacks, or rejections. The difference is they didn't quit. They didn't let temporary defeat become permanent identity. They used every setback as fuel, and over time, they transformed into people who were unstoppable. That is the power of mindset. It shapes the meaning you give to every experience. If you see failure as the end, you stop. If you see failure as feedback, you keep going until you succeed. A growth mindset also shifts how you see others. Instead of feeling threatened by someone else's success, you feel inspired by it. You realize that if they can achieve something, so can you, because success is not a limited resource. It is available to anyone who is willing to learn, adapt, and persist. This mindset not only builds resilience, it builds humility, because you stop pretending to know it all and start seeking ways to know more. You become a student of life, always growing, always improving, always expanding. That is why the few who adopt this mindset will always outperform the many who do not. They are not defined by where they start. They are defined by how much they are willing to grow along the way. Most people overestimate the importance of doing something once in a dramatic way and underestimate the importance of doing something consistently in a small way. They think success comes from a single massive action, a single breakthrough moment, or a sudden stroke of luck. The truth is, greatness is rarely built in one explosive event. It is built in the quiet, steady repetition of actions that compound over time. Consistency is the hidden key that unlocks long-term success, and it is what separates the 3% from the 97. You can show up once with incredible intensity. You can push yourself to the limit in one moment, but if you do not repeat that action daily, weekly, monthly, then the effect disappears. On the other hand, if you do something small, but do it every single day without fail, it stacks up into something massive. Reading 10 pages a day might feel like nothing, but in a year, you have finished more than a dozen books. Doing 20 push-ups a day might feel insignificant, but in a year, your body has transformed. Writing one page every day might not seem impressive, but in a year, you have a 365-page book. That is the power of consistency. Intensity is seductive because it feels dramatic. You feel proud when you work hard in a burst, when you put in extraordinary effort for a short time. But intensity without consistency dies quickly. It does not create habits. It does not shape identity. It does not build the long-term resilience required to succeed. The people who achieve real success are not those who worked hardest one time. They are those who showed up consistently over and over again. Consistency is not glamorous. It does not get applause in the short term, but it is unstoppable in the long term. It creates momentum, and momentum creates results that seem like magic to those who do not understand the process. One of the greatest truths about consistency is that it builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you strengthen your self-belief. You prove to yourself that you can be relied upon, that you follow through, that your word means something. When you consistently break promises to yourself, you erode your confidence, you weaken your resolve, and you begin to doubt your ability to succeed. That is why consistency matters. It is not just about the results it produces on the outside. It is about the person it shapes on the inside. It makes you stronger, more disciplined, more reliable, and more capable of handling bigger challenges. Consistency also compounds over time in ways that are invisible at first. At the beginning, it feels like nothing is happening. You go to the gym for a week and your body looks the same. You practice a skill for a month and you still feel clumsy. You save money for a year and it still looks small. This is why most people quit. They want immediate proof. And when they don't see it, they stop. But the 3% know that results lag behind effort. They understand that consistency works silently until one day it explodes into visible progress. That breakthrough moment everyone else sees as sudden is actually the result of countless invisible repetitions stacked over time. The choice between consistency and intensity is really the choice between temporary excitement and lasting transformation. Most people choose excitement, which is why they never sustain their progress. The top performers choose consistency, which is why their results outlast their moods, their their feelings and their circumstances. By choosing to show up daily, by committing to steady action instead of waiting for bursts of motivation, you step into a category very few people ever enter. Consistency does not just create success, it creates identity. You do not just do things consistently, you become the kind of person who lives with discipline, with persistence, with reliability. And once that identity is built, the results will follow naturally. Mindset is the foundation of everything you do, because the way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act shapes the results you get in life. Most people never realize how much their mindset controls their reality, so they continue to operate with limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, and fear of failure. They convince themselves that they cannot achieve more, that they are not good enough, or that life is stacked against them. And this belief system becomes a cage that keeps them from ever moving forward. But those who break into the top 3% of achievers understand that mindset is the real battlefield. And if you can win in your mind, you can win in your life. It is not your circumstances that decide where you end up. It is the way you interpret and respond to those circumstances. Two people can face the same problem, but one sees it as the end while the other sees it as a beginning. The difference is mindset, and that difference determines who quits and who perseveres, who settles and who succeeds. A strong mindset does not mean you never feel fear, doubt, or frustration. It means you refuse to let those feelings control you. It means you replace fear with courage, you replace doubt with belief, and you replace frustration with persistence. When you choose to control your thoughts instead of letting them control you, you take back power over your life. That is why successful people spend time feeding their minds with positivity, with learning, with growth, because they understand that what you put into your mind eventually shows up in your actions. If you surround yourself with negativity, you will act in defeat. If you surround yourself with possibility, you will act in hope. Mindset also affects how you view challenges. The majority of people see challenges as problems meant to stop them. Those with a strong mindset see challenges as opportunities meant to grow them. They understand that obstacles are not punishments, they are training. Each challenge is preparing them for the next level of success. Instead of shrinking back, they lean into the discomfort because they know growth never happens inside the comfort zone. Every time they overcome something difficult, their confidence grows, their belief in themselves strengthens, and their ability to handle bigger challenges increases. That is how they separate themselves from those who remain stuck. Another key part of mindset is resilience. Life will never be free of setbacks, disappointments, or failures. The difference between those who stop and those who keep going is how quickly they recover from those blows. A weak mindset crumbles under pressure, but a strong mindset bounces back. Resilient people understand that setbacks are temporary, that failure is not final, and that persistence always pays off if they stay in the fight long enough. This resilience is built by deciding in advance that nothing will break you, that no matter how many times you fall, you will get back up. Mindset also determines how you see yourself and your potential. Most people place limits on themselves before the world even has the chance to. They say, I can't, before they ever try. They decide they are not capable before they take the first step. But those with an empowered mindset believe in possibility. They may not know how yet, but they believe it can be done, and that belief fuels their persistence until the solution appears. They do not allow their current situation to define their future. They speak to themselves with encouragement. They visualize themselves succeeding, and they program their minds to see opportunities instead of obstacles. The truth is, success is 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. Strategies, tools, and tactics are important, but they are useless without the right mindset to apply them. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you doubt yourself, if you quit at the first sign of difficulty, if you allow fear to paralyze you, none of that knowledge will matter. But with the right mindset, you can start with nothing and build everything. You can face setbacks and turn them into setups. You can step into challenges and come out stronger on the other side. That is why mindset is the most important factor in beating the odds and achieving what most people only dream about. Success is never the result of one lucky break or one massive action taken in a single moment. It is the result of showing up again and again, especially when motivation fades. Most people quit not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they lack the ability to remain consistent when the excitement disappears. They start strong, full of energy, but as soon as progress slows or obstacles appear, they give up and look for something easier. This is why 97% of people never reach their true potential. They are driven by emotion, not by commitment. But the ones who rise into the top 3% are those who understand that consistency beats everything. They know that even when the results are invisible, every step is building a foundation, every repetition is planting seeds, and every small effort is stacking into something greater than they can see in the moment. Consistency is the bridge between your goals and your achievements. It is what takes the dream from imagination to reality. When you do something repeatedly over time, you create habits, and habits are powerful because they no longer require constant willpower. At first, consistency feels hard because you are pushing against old patterns, but over time, it becomes automatic. That is how you transform not only what you do, but who you are. Going to the gym becomes part of your identity. Reading every day becomes natural. Working on your goals daily becomes who you are, not just what you do. Most people never reach this stage because they stop before consistency has the chance to reshape them, but the few who persist discover that habits carry them further than motivation ever could. One of the reasons consistency is so powerful is because of the compound effect. Small actions done daily may look insignificant, but when compounded over weeks, months, and years, the results are massive. Think of someone who saves a small amount of money every day compared to someone who waits until they have a large sum to start. Over time, the small, consistent saver ends up far ahead because consistency compounds. The same principle applies to health, relationships, skills, and personal growth. A little progress every day eventually adds up to transformation, while inconsistent bursts of effort rarely create lasting change. The compound effect rewards those who stay the course and punishes those who stop and start endlessly. Consistency also builds credibility with yourself and with others. When you show up consistently, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. You stop doubting your ability to follow through because you have evidence that you do. This self-trust is one of the most valuable forms of confidence you can build. At the same time, people around you begin to respect your commitment. They see you as someone reliable, someone serious, someone who does not just talk about goals, but actually pursues them. Opportunities come to those who are consistent because consistency signals dependability, and dependability is rare. Another important truth about consistency is that it creates momentum. At the beginning, the effort feels heavy, progress feels slow, and motivation is fragile. But the longer you keep going, the more momentum you build. Like pushing a heavy wheel, the first turns are the hardest. But once it starts spinning, it requires less effort to keep it moving, and eventually it moves with force on its own. Consistency generates that unstoppable force. Most people never experience it because they quit before momentum kicks in, but the few who stay long enough find that their consistency carries them forward even on days when they do not feel like trying. The world is full of people who started strong and quit halfway, but very few who kept going until consistency worked its magic. That is why those few rise to the top. They understand that mastery comes from repetition, that greatness comes from persistence, and that winning comes from the daily decision to stay committed. They know that consistency is not about perfection, it is about persistence. Even if you stumble, even if you fall, as long as you return to the path and continue forward, consistency remains unbroken. This is what separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who live ordinary lives. It is not talent, not luck, not brilliance. It is the simple but powerful choice to stay consistent no matter what